Thanks for coming back to the show, man.
I'm so glad to be back, man. This is awesome. Well, and we're not in Chicago now. We're in
We are.
my OG, my hometown. Man. This is my alma mater, which is really weird that I'm back here.
Shout out Conway.
Shout out Conway, go Cats.
Let's
Six
go.
legs.
Well, it is good to be back too. I'm the same boat. I mean, I didn't grow up here, but I have a lot of network here and a lot of friends here, and it's been great to be back for the last couple of weeks. Now family's all here, so it's just natural, so this is kind of home away from home at this point. But today I want to dive into a little bit more of your day-to-day and your business and talk about, so Benjamin Franklin Plumbing is the business that you own in Northwest Arkansas. Would love to hear, I've got a lot of questions about what that looks like for you and plumbing industry in general, but then, what you guys are doing to differentiate yourself. So maybe let's start with the idea of a franchise.
Sure.
I know that's what you guys are operating.
Yeah.
You and your partner have bought into this franchise. It's national. Is it in all 50 states? Or do you know?
I don't think it's in all 50.
Okay.
They just went online with New Mexico pretty recently.
Okay.
I know that there's an interest there. So there's one that hasn't been tapped yet. But yeah, there's a lot of interest right now in plumbing in general and the service, the trades in general.
How long has Benjamin Franklin Plumbing been around, if you know that? And then how does that work? So just walk me through, you bought into the franchise. What does that look like to do a franchise in the plumbing space like that?
Yeah. Ben Franklin's been around in different iterations for over 20 years. Okay. There's been a lot of different companies through the years that have owned the franchise name and have slowly integrated over time. As it exists now, we're owned by Authority Brands.
Okay.
Authority Brands owns what we call the tri-brands, which are their three prominent brands that bring in over half of the revenue of the other additional 8 or 9. And they're all home service. So you've got 1 hour heating and air conditioning for HVAC. You've got Mr. Sparky Electric, which is for all electrical. And then you have Benjamin Franklin Plumbing.
Wow.
And really, the franchise model is great for somebody like me who maybe they feel confident they can operate, but maybe don't know an industry, but feel that they can create the systems, build a good culture, and then scale it, because ultimately this is about scale.
Right.
And someone maybe who is lacking in that confidence of being able to turn around a business that's in a completely different industry that maybe they're not used to. Right. So for example, when I really started to look into this in 2022, my now business partner had just come back from living overseas and had been there for a very, very long time, he and his wife. And we just started to look about what would it be like if we owned something together.
Yeah.
And so he put a lot of the skull sweat behind this, man, because I'm just really and truly I'm just an operator. I'm not this guy who's great at financial modeling, thinking about all the long-term implications, all the budgeting and the practicality that comes behind actually even launching something like this. Mm-hmm. So for someone like me, and having a partner who's completely opposite in all the skill sets that you don't have and you're lacking in, makes a clearer picture about why this is effective. Now, when we looked into this originally, the idea was we would start our own or buy an existing.
Okay.
Right? So we would look at a cash flowing opportunity that somebody's wanting to sell a business, start scaling it, bringing in some systems and just bringing it online, and then increase the revenue, therefore be more profitable, and then not have to work so hard on starting something. My main concern and my primary thing that I really hesitated on was, if I did that, what kind of culture am I getting into? If I have no rapport in the industry, would people even want to follow me? Or would I immediately sign on the dotted line and have a mutiny on my hands and everybody walk out?
Yeah.
That was terrifying to me, because then I'd be left holding the bag and nothing and nobody to help me build it.
Right.
And that would be devastating. The other option would just be start something from nothing and just start from the ground up and work my way up and grind. And then we looked at franchising, which essentially just says, here's the playbook, here's the marketing and the branding. You have a giant network of other successful franchise owners that you can call on. And then from there, you can do something really great. you are going to pay royalties. You will be paying for, that buy-in, and that's just part of the game. And we decided, hey, we looked at this model, the juice is worth the squeeze. Yep. Let's hitch our wagons here and let's try it. And so that's ultimately kind of weighing those three options, why we concluded that that would be the one we would go with.
Okay.
So then it became a process of vetting. So you'd call around and you'd say, hey, you just want to hear do some validation calls, right? You just validate, tell me a little bit about yours, tell me about your CEOs and your meet the team day, and interview some franchise owners. And really what was interesting about all of this is that there was just so much prayer that went into it, because plumbing was so unknown, man. That was not on my bingo card, man. Yeah. Like, that was not even close. So it was like, I need to find somebody where I feel a lot of peace about hitching my wagon to. And it came time to call some of these franchise owners in Ben Franklin. And man, it was awesome. The first three that I called, man, they were like just helpful and just kind, and they were just a little bit ahead of me. And then they just openly were talking about what the Lord's been doing in their life. And I was like, whoa, like, I didn't expect there to be a whole lot of like believers in this.
Wow.
Then additionally, the other thing that was a really big relief was that they weren't plumbers themselves. And so I felt a lot of like overwhelming peace that, like, hey, these guys are doing it. They're out there doing it. They're not plumbers. They don't have the background that you would see, proprietary to the industry. And so I just felt more confident and at peace about them being able to do this. And not saying I'm like smarter or better. I'm just saying, like, there's a shot. So when I ended up going that route, one of the, I think, final nails in the coffin was just that these guys were just together, and they prayed for each other, and they worked on problems together, and they'd call, and they didn't even live close by. One guy's in Michigan, one guy's in Texas, one guy's in Florida, one guy's in Georgia. Like, these guys are just bouncing around ideas.
Wow.
And I just felt like, okay, if they're that open about this is going to be a really good program.
Right.
So that's ultimately why we concluded on, or why we landed the plane on becoming a franchise owner.
Okay. So tell me about how the actual agreement works. So I know, for example, I've been exposed to a lot of Chick-fil-A operators.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A has a very unique franchise model where you can, for a very low upfront cost, at least to buy in, it's like $10,000 is what they say. At least in the past is what they've advertised, what people kind of largely know them by. There's a huge vetting process in order to get that spot, right? But I know not all franchises work that way. Yeah. That's a very unique thing. What is it like? And I guess maybe, is it standard across the board for all of the franchisees of Benjamin Franklin brand, or is it kind of an individual deal made with the higher ups, made with corporate, based on the market conditions, based on where you're at, based on what they want to do in that area?
Yeah. So the way that the home services work with franchising is they draw up a territory map, and they determine how many people, based on a price per person inside of a certain territory size, would make sense to bring an operator into.
Okay.
When they draw out these maps, they try to keep them, within 150 to 200,000 people, roughly.
Yep.
That helps them hit their margins and make it make sense for the person who's going to operate that territory. So Northwest Arkansas came online with 3 territories, and they ultimately just bring it up and say, if anybody's interested in these territories, let's have a conversation. Then you start to meet with them. They determine if you're even worth having a conversation with to go further. And if they feel good that you'll be a good operator, then they begin to invite you further into the process. So then you get a call back, and they say, hey, we want to see your business plan. How do you plan on doing this? Once you feel comfortable about that, we're going to present to you the franchise disclosure document. And so you have to sign some papers, look into this. This will show you everything within the last year of how, like, our revenues, how the business is going, the growth, just all the things.
Yeah.
And it's pretty extensive.
I'm assuming that's corporate, like overall.
Correct. They have to disclose all that stuff legally.
Interesting. Wow.
As a franchise.
Okay. Fascinating.
So you go through and you sign that. They also have like suggested costs for startups. So they give you basically a range of startup costs. Hey, if you bought one territory, it's going to be about this. Hey, if you bought two, it'd be probably this. They won't give you three or more, which makes total sense.
Right.
They want to make sure you're a good operator first.
Yeah.
So we go through that process, and in that time, they also, if they like your business model, if you've provided some financial modeling that looks good to them, you go on the Meet the Teams day, and you have like a 2-hour long introductory online kind of a Q&A, but mostly just sit in and kind of listen.
Okay.
And meet the whole team, and they talk a little bit more about what they do. And then if everything goes well, they make an offer. You sign on the dotted line, and it's usually involved with some kind of financing, right, and a requirement of a down payment to get this started. So we got through that. I think we started looking through the FDD and Meet the Teams in May of 2023.
Okay.
That timeline. Let's see, we signed on, and then in June of 2023, we signed on the dotted line and had all the cash we needed to open.
Wow. Okay.
And so our method of doing this was we financed through the SBA.
Okay, cool.
So we did an SBA 7A traditional loan.
Okay.
Found a bank that'd give us a good line of credit. Terms were good. And you got 10 years on the line, right? 10 years on the hook of getting this thing taken care of. So it's hefty.
Yeah.
But it allows us who don't have as much cash and access to capital, to be able to do something like starting a Ben Franklin or a franchise.
Wow. So there's the startup, there's initial down payment or the initial, startup fee, but then I'm assuming there's ongoing franchise royalties that you mentioned
Correct.
As well.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
that's a percentage of revenue
It's
or a percentage of?
percent of revenue.
Okay.
With minimum payments if you don't hit those certain revenue targets.
Okay.
For 10 years. So that's what you're on the hook for.
Gotcha.
There's
and
also,
then after that, you're not, you don't keep paying.
Well, if you want to re-up. If you want to re-up with the franchise, you start again. Yeah, so they do it in 10-year increments.
Okay.
There's 10-year cycles.
Okay, gotcha.
The another percentage of that also goes into what they call the brand fund.
Okay.
That's for marketing. That's for brand recognition. That's for making sure websites are, the corporate sites are up and running, and,
Sure.
and it helps with Facebook ads and other things like that and social posts.
Okay.
So you do get some of that as well as a very, very small percentage
Yeah.
of your revenue as well.
Yeah. Can you give us an idea of what range of revenue as a franchise, as a plumbing franchise, like what percentage of revenue is coming off the top? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, I probably can't be too specific.
That's fine.
I'll give you a range that I've heard.
Yeah.
So most ranges go from, depending on which company you're with, whether it's Blue Frog, Neighborly, or other, you're anywhere from 10 to 6.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range.
Okay. Gotcha.
Percent of revenue, and it varies based on who you're with.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it is mostly, at the end of the day, it's mostly your business, you've got the back end to support you, but you are the main, as a franchisee, obviously it's different for different industries, different for different actual franchises, but if it doesn't go much beyond 10, the franchise itself doesn't get its hands in the weeds. It doesn't get its hands in it as much as some might think, like you're giving away 40% of your revenue or something like that.
Oh, we're pretty independently owned and operated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get a lot of autonomy.
Okay.
Now, the nice part is they have, so much buying capital that we do have some strong partnerships with vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And that part is nice when you have so much of a group buying power.
That's crazy, yeah.
And often underlooked, underutilized sometimes. But it does give you just that extra little bit of help.
Yeah.
Then you get the playbook, right? So then you
Right.
get the operating manual, and that's very helpful as well.
So you're mentioning here and there aspects of this, but let's summarize it. What are the pros that you see of owning a franchise and the cons of that as well? What's the bright side, the dark side from your perspective?
Pros are you get a huge network of operators that are very good. And so I have a Mr. Sparky down the road, and very successful. And I can go in and then ask him, hey, what are we doing here? How do we need to, if we want to 10x in 3 years, what do we need to do to 10x? If you want to double next year, how do we double? man, what are you doing when you have this problem with a guy? Like, how are you vetting this?
Yeah.
And you begin to see that they're like, hey, this is what worked. This is what I've already done. And they've already run through the fire for you.
Yeah.
And it's just up to you to determine if you really want to listen or not and implement that stuff.
Yes.
And so
Makes sense.
there's been so many people ahead of you that are rooting for your success. They just want to see you succeed because now you're in the brotherhood, right? And it's like kind of a fraternity type of mindset of like, I'll help you because you're part of like our group. You're in.
Right.
And so you get this feeling that there's a true, authentic camaraderie.
Okay.
And there's an authentic desire for people to help the guy coming up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's one of the reasons I really stuck around.
Sure.
Obviously, the cons are I'm paying a franchise fee
Of course.
and a
Right.
brand fund
Right.
that aren't always great.
Yep.
And so I often wonder and scratch my head and go, are we, allocating that money the right way?
Right.
Am I paying into something that's really working for me?
Sure.
And you have to check that, right? Because there's an interest of the franchisor to take care of its franchisors
Yeah.
and take care of the private equity company, right? There's a demand on them, but they, in order to do that, they have to come to us, the franchisees,
Yep.
make sure we're being taken care of. And oftentimes the franchisor will win out,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always feel like you're getting all the help you want.
Right.
So you have to push a little harder. And so if you're okay with pushing and you're okay with doing it tactfully and respectfully and saying like, hey, I know you guys are trying really hard to keep our best interests in mind, but we need some help here. Sometimes it's a little slow on the uptake
Yep.
because there's just a lot of process that goes into that and bureaucratic red tape.
Yep.
And, well, we've already got our budgets for 26. We can't really allocate that for this, and maybe next year. And you're just like, well,
Do they consider you a business partner? As like between franchisee and franchisor, do they consider it a business partnership or do they not refer to it that way?
they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they say we're partners.
Yeah. Yeah. I figured.
What
but-
percentage partnership can vary day to day.
Right, of course. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so keep going. The pros and the pro brotherhood or camaraderie, that fraternal vibe that really sounds like was what got you in the door in the first place too. Is calling those guys
That's
and
right.
being like, tell me about this, and then they're like, the quality of the people that you saw was just like, I've got to be with these people.
Yeah.
And then obviously the cons being the franchise fee. Anything else come to mind in terms of pros and cons?
Yeah, the cons also being that the marketing could be stronger and more localized.
Okay.
It's very hard. I understand completely.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is a great example, right? Like every Chick-fil-A you're going to go to across the country should look just like a Chick-fil-A should across the country
Right.
and operate the same.
Right.
And they don't really have to market very differently in different markets.
Okay.
That makes sense. When you're doing home service, it's very, very different. People want hyper local. They don't want just some corporatized franchise owner
Yeah.
to send robots into their home to clean and whatever they're doing, right?
Yes.
They want to know, like, are you from here? I'd rather put my money where it's local and being split out. So, like, you have to be very clear. Like, I'm independently owned and I'm locally owned,
Yep.
independently operated, locally operated. Because otherwise, like, people really would rather just go find that person that's, quote unquote, from the area or family owned and operated.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is a quite a distinction there that's required. And so when corporate puts out a lot of like stock imagery and
Right.
very corporate looking stuff, it doesn't actually help your cause. Yeah, it looks polished, it looks great, like compared to like a guy who took a picture on his iPhone or something and put it on the website, but it's actually still not hitting as well and impacting as much as that guy who did just take that
Right.
picture with his iPhone.
Right. It's just the values are different. I would imagine, like you said, the home services, they're looking for someone who's that vibe,
Yeah.
How much do you, to mitigate that con, how much do you invest in your own marketing?
It's a pretty big part of our
Okay.
big part of our marketing.
Are you able to collaborate with other operators in the area as well?
So
that.
we're actually working through that as we speak. That's been one thing that we've been trying really hard to determine and understand.
Okay.
There have been very successful partnerships in bigger cities and locations where you have a completely separate owner of a Mr. Sparky and a Benjamin Franklin Plumbing,
Right.
they found a way to work together.
Yep.
And they found a way to like use, cross collateral, or say like, hey, if you're signed up as a member here, you also get this membership.
Interesting.
And so because you're a member with this person, you get free access to a home. And it opens you up to more customers. It opens you up to a larger group of potential buyers.
Right.
And I have not quite cracked the nut on that one,
Okay.
but working on it, working towards that goal, and we do have some we're working on it, and that's one where I think you would find a greater benefit to being in the franchise, right?
Absolutely. I'm thinking like billboards, or like we go in on, obviously in Little Rock, if you were here, you could do like a travelers, like Arkansas Traveler sponsorship or something, where you've got your name plastered on the side of the fence at the ball field. Something in Northwest Arkansas might be the Razorbacks, or somewhere around there. You've got your face or your brand, but also maybe the other franchise. The franchisee that you mentioned, or others in your network, but you all go in on that together. I'm wondering if that can kind of, if that is something that y'all have considered, to kind of offset to make it more local, to make it more, personal, as opposed to just being, this is going to be something that people are going to see that's really corporate.
Yeah, we've seen it work. We've seen that. Also, the other thing that helps too is getting directly involved with the things that the community enjoys and they find important, right? So an example would be we're helping a local softball team.
Okay.
And one of the fun things is, our name is on their banner, but they're also going around traveling, and so they get to talk about us. We're promoting that. And then the kids actually promote for us, right? So we give them flyers and hand them out and say for every, it's kind of a fun guerrilla marketing campaign, but they'll go in and sell for us. That's a small example. I was in Chicago actually, and one of the examples they used was they're at like live concerts with tents, and they're handing out stuff and giving out swag and getting people drinks or whatever the case may be.
Right.
They're always at farmers markets. So there's like a guerrilla marketing, traditional marketing that can occur and does occur. And it requires a little bit of a brand swell. So what we're learning is we're still pretty new to our market, and so we're still trying to gain that ground on the brand recognition and awareness of our brand. And so we're trying to tweak all of our digital marketing and the things that would be required of us to be able to just have that visibility out there in our community at large. And then the small things when you plug them in, like a concert or a softball team, or promoting like having your name across the back of like the Northwest Arkansas Naturals,
right?
Home run, zone or whatever they call it. I can't remember now. Just different things like that. You can definitely spark some interest.
Maybe leading into, kind of pivoting a little bit, but similar topic. Talking about the competitors in your area and the competition that you're dealing with, coming in as a new brand, new territory.
Yeah.
How do you see the differentiation? What are you doing to differentiate yourself in a probably crowded market, I would assume, in Northwest Arkansas, with as much as it's growing? But a lot of those, local operators who have been around for probably decades. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but like, what would you say are some key things for your franchise that you're doing? Like, we're going to differentiate ourselves this way.
Yeah, it's getting more crowded.
Okay.
There's a handful of things that I would say we've cornered the market on. I would say my unique selling proposition is less forward facing to the customer and more about how do you keep and retain really good people.
Okay. Yeah.
So we would probably be diving into culture at that point.
Right.
If we want to talk about like a unique selling proposition for the customer, what we do, I think better than anybody, is a big core value of ours really is empathy. And a lot of that is born out of, I think, my time as a young life leader, interestingly enough, where I was spending a lot of time with kids that were, what we would say, were from the wrong side of the tracks. They legitimately were. I mean, I have funny stories after stories and just wild kids that would come in, feral kids that I loved, you know, and cared about. And the thing that just kept, the refrain that kept coming up in Young Life is, they have a tagline that says, earn the right to be heard. And how do you do that? And one time we were sitting around, and my area director at the time, Michael Harrison, he's a longtime Conway guy. He said, here's how you do it. He goes, number one, you listen.
Yeah.
Number two, you listen. And number three, you listen.
Wow.
And that really struck me. And I was just like, wow. It's like, is it that simple? And as you come to find out, it absolutely is the most simple thing you can do in the world. And so I tell my plumbers, like, you have to earn the right to be heard.
Wow. Yeah.
And so you cannot go in talking first. You ask questions and you listen. And so my guys are learning, and it's always evolving, and there's always an iteration or something about it, but they listen to the customer first and have empathy. We don't walk in and see 50 gallons of water on the floor because the water heater just exploded and go, well, I can see you got a water heater problem here, and this is what you need, and this is that.
Right.
It's first, it's like, I'm so sorry that happened. Oh my gosh. Well, I have good news. We're here to help. What would be the best thing for me to do right now for you? You know, and usually it's, I'm going to go get your water turned off. Right? And you know, or ask them, hey, do you know where your emergency water in case this happens? Can I show you?
Yeah.
You know, and just bringing them into the conversation.
Wow.
And letting them be familiarized with their home. Right. So our unique selling proposition is that our guys, we hire based on character. Mm-hmm. I can give a monkey a wrench, and he could probably be a pretty decent plumber.
Right.
But what I can't do is get that monkey to have empathy for people, right, and really want, and just to build trust and rapport with a customer. Mm-hmm. So uniquely, a lot of our principles in our business were reflective in the gospel, in light of the gospel. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is the guys don't realize that it's transforming their lives too.
Right. Well, they're going to go back and listen to their wives differently, most likely, and you know, things like that. I would assume. Yeah.
Correct.
Their families, their kids, their extended family. You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's so cool.
So I'm using Inception to coin a Christopher Nolan term. I'm using Inception on my guys.
Okay.
They don't realize how much they're fundamentally changing their lives.
I love that.
But it is part of why I think we're unique in that ecosystem, and why I think we've grown as fast as we have and gotten the recognition that we have.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything to do with me being the best operator in the world. I don't think it has. I'm not even. I feel like I listen to some guys on a pod. You know, there's a guy who owns a very, very big company up there, and I hear him talk, and I'm like, whoa, that dude's a good operator.
Yeah.
And he's legit.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going like, dude, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Because I'm so new to this game.
Right.
So how is it that we look different? And, you know, the numbers show what we've done in that short amount of time that we've been there. It's now been 2 years. Mm-hmm. October 16th, 2023 was the day that we opened our doors.
Wow.
Which was very ironic. I didn't even notice this until I looked back on it on that day. But the day that I was actually let go of my previous company was October 16th, 2021. 2022, I'm sorry. Was when I was like, oh.
Right.
I didn't even know. I didn't think about it, didn't know about it, there's nothing. Just was like, whoa, that's crazy.
That is crazy. So exactly a year later when you open your doors.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So,
well, we're going to do a whole other episode on culture at some point, because that is like, the more I hear you talk about that, the more curiosity I have as to kind of the factors that have shaped your thinking around culture. But let's transition to talking about the plumbing industry as a whole, and kind of the challenges and opportunities that we have, that you step into, what you're learning about it as you're 2 years into this now. We hear a lot about the trades. Just tell me about what you're observing in terms of the next 5 to 10 years. What are the biggest challenges that you're facing right now, and you and probably all the other operators? But then what are the opportunities that you see as well?
Yeah, great question. The trades, historically in the past 30 years, have been seen as a less than career, is what I call it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's the right term.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't get into the trades because you wanted to. You were forced into it because you couldn't hack it as a college student, or you didn't have the funds, or your family dysfunction and dropping out of high school, or whatever the case. Addiction to drugs, alcohol, just wasn't, you were never going to rise to the occasion to have like a piece of paper with your name on it and a 4-year degree.
Got it.
It just wasn't going to happen.
Yep.
So what do? You resort to the life you think you deserve, and you just go plumb or you go be an electrician, or you go whatever, because you got to feed your family.
Yeah.
Without much thought about making the career out of it, without much thought about seeing the same, looking forward into the future, not just looking down your nose at like in the moment of what I'm doing, and really begin to dream about what can this become?
Yeah.
It's rare.
Right.
And I think a lot of that has to do with how they have historically paid themselves and been treated by customers. You're just a plumber. Like, I don't need you to go in and tell me I need this, 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 and this. I called you to put a patch on that water heater. I told you to go fix that one little thing. You walk into a home and you turn a wrench and tighten up a little water line that's got a drip on it, and then you leave.
Right.
You make $20 maybe.
Right.
And there wasn't a lot of business, I would say, like actual like business acumen put behind that. It was like, well, I just got to go make money so I can put food on the table tonight.
Strictly technical. That's what it sounds like.
Purely technical.
Right.
You're purely a technician. You're not a business person. And so you don't know what to charge. You don't know how to charge. You don't know what you're worth. You don't know how much drive time costs. And if you have any marketing at all, probably in a yellow page, you don't know how much to charge a customer for travel time, for your insurance, for your maintenance, wear and tear, consumables. You just mark up a product and give a time material type of number and assume hope you're close. And usually it's the lowest bidder would win. So they had this mentality like, I got to be the cheapest or I'll never win.
Wow. Yeah.
Rather than thinking about like, how can I delight my customers so that they wish that whatever price I give them, they could afford to use me.
Wow.
So now we're kind of in this really interesting place where private equity's gotten involved and really launched into creating a profitable business. And there's still a large contingent of population size of people that want that cheapest product. And it's like, well, you're just a plumber. I just want a cheap fix. And you're still stuck on time and material. And so you've got this group of people that are in that older generation that were used to having plumbers do that for them, or electricians or whatever. And they're gonna gripe.
Right.
And you're saying, as I come into this, like you're now the operator, right, of a business. Historically, is fighting against bad blood for many years, and saying, oh, we're going to fundamentally change this. One, to change people's lives, because now we show that there is dignity in your work, including plumbing, HVAC, electrical, whatever it is, and that you can have a living wage and you can have a comfortable life for you and your family, and that this isn't seen as a negative that you didn't go to college or that you weren't in the trades. And we're also clearly seeing on the other side, the ivory tower is broken. Like institutional universities and things are broken.
Yeah.
And there's enough data out there, and my dad, right, worked in higher education for 34 years.
Right.
It's more clear to him than anybody the transformation that's happened in that time. And so now people are starting to, as I look forward, they're looking towards trades, and we're seeing an increase in the trades of people going into the trades because of that whole entire system being broken.
Wow.
And now they're saying like, well, why would I want to do that, go to a 4-year degree, have hundreds of thousands of dollars in school debt to get paid $50,000 a year and never get out from underneath this, or I could just go get a trade, start making $50,000 right out of the, being a journeyman plumber, up to $120,000 to $140,000 a year if you're really good at what you do, and have no school debt.
Right. And you've got 4 years head start on all your friends who did
4-year head start.
Right.
Yeah. And you can argue whatever you want about that. That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
And so I think the landscape is changing a lot about how they're viewed. And I'm trying to win the trades, not by proving to people that I'm doing work for, but for the people that I hire, that you have a greater purpose on this earth, and that you can flourish and you can live a great life. And that you can also, oh, by the way, like take back the dignity and restore this, seemingly unredeemable trade, and take ownership of it and love it, and be in a place that you feel appreciated for your work.
Yeah. What has been the reception that you've gotten with your guys around that concept?
Most people want to be at my company.
Okay.
I paint it when I hire. I paint a very vivid picture about this is the place you want to work. And I'm passionate about that because recruitment is the most important tool that you have.
Right.
You should always be recruiting.
Right.
Now, do I do that perfectly? No. But I get to pick and choose who I think is going to be a good fit based on their character and how excited they are about that proposition.
Yes. Yeah.
And so if a guy comes in and he's open-minded and he comes in and he wants to change his family's life and he wants to be in a place where he can work and feel like there's we're charging appropriately for what he has done, his skills that he's learned over the years. And that more importantly, and this is funny too, because we're not talking about cash. Cash, if you look at like why people stay, like their income or their salary is not even in the top 5 generally.
Right. Right.
And so I'm more apt to, they're going to get paid well.
Yeah.
They're going to. But more importantly, like they hear from me directly, I'm proud of them. More directly, I care about their families. And more importantly, like they know that they're getting recognized for their hard work.
Right.
And what I have done in that, and this is getting back into culture, I know we'll get away from it again, so we can talk about it another time. But I have a guy that I recently just hired, and it was like 4:30. Our guys, they don't want to work 50 hours a week. They want to work 35, maybe work 40, maybe.
Right.
Run their 3 to 4 calls a day, go home and be with their families. That's what they want. The what are we at, Gen Z now?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's the Gen Z ideal. I
it is.
really think so.
Yeah. And so I'm placating to that and saying, like do your work and we'll pay you based on your performance in that time frame. And if you get done every day at 2:33, but you've done what you needed, we get the revenue we need, and you've made really happy customers that just love you to death. Great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go be a father, because that's what I care more about.
Yeah.
That's what I care about.
Yeah.
And that's also me as like a way of like imprinting the gospel into our generation, where historically the divorce rates have been substantially higher than they've ever been. Single parent households are high. Drug abuse from fathers and absentee fathers are high. It's like I want to give you every opportunity to go and amend or be part of that relationship restoration.
Right. Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'll say that, but then, that's kind of one of those side table discussions about culture. But I just create a place that they feel that value, and they feel like they're part of a team. And so back to this guy who just started with us. I told him when we hired people, I'm like, look, you're not going to find another place like this, because our guys, we're going to check on you.
Right.
We're not lone wolves.
Right.
We're not going to walk into a home, get done with my job for the day, and then leave and not just, be a silo to, unto yourself. We check on each other.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like 4:30. I was like, I had to leave a little early to get to my house and check on some things at home. And as I'm driving away, I call him and I'm like, hey man, just checking in. How's everything going? You okay? You need anything? And he goes, oh man, I'm headed back to the shop now. And he paused for a minute, took a deep breath. He just said, you're the 4th person to call me in the last 30 minutes and ask if I needed anything. He said, every one of your other guys has called me and asked if they could help. He said, nobody's ever done that for me. I've been plumbing for 10 years.
That's insane.
Yeah. But like, I was just like, wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
You're doing something right. Yeah. That's really cool. I've heard you talk about the pipeline that you're generating related to, and this is again going to touch slightly on culture, but I would love to hear you just riff very briefly on the guy that you have, I believe you're a master plumber, if I heard you correctly the last episode we did, who has a presence in one of the trade schools nearby. How is that working for you? How did that originally come about? Was that a strategic move on your behalf or on your part? Who had that idea? Like that sounds genius to me. And have you seen any fruit from that? I guess in terms of people coming out of that program coming directly to you.
Yeah. So it's done a couple of things, and I wish I could tell you I was the first person to think of this. It was his idea, so he's the mastermind.
Sure. And
it had a lot to do with kind of him in a certain specific season of his life where he had the honor and privilege to sell his family's company and be a part of that exit. And part of that also came with some stuff that he wasn't allowed to do some work here for a while.
Got it.
In the meantime, he's very passionate about teaching, and he's a good teacher. And so in that time where there was this like impassioned move to just teach, he had a spark of an idea that he would just go in and sign up to be one of the apprentice teachers at this community college.
It's crazy.
And I was like, wow, that's really cool. He goes, yeah, man. He's like, dude, I didn't learn that much in those trades programs. He's like, you just had a master plumber that literally would just throw the book and just say, read this chapter, we'll take a quiz when you're done. After the 2 hours, sign this paper, and then you can leave. And they like never talked, never had discussions. Additionally, it was all just about code. And he's like, that's only a small fraction
Right.
of what it really means to be in the trades here. And he's really flipped the script, and he goes in and has really engaging discussion times. He'll talk about the history of plumbing all the way back to like ancient Rome, when they were making aqueducts and like creating sewers in the streets and just all kinds of things to move stuff. You know, like he's really helping plumbing gain back what it was so long ago. I mean, it saved the world.
Yeah.
And that's so funny to think about. You're like, no, doctors saved the world. You're like, plumbers got rid of diseases that were rampant in the streets because of the raw sewage everywhere. And they brought in clean drinking water from places and ran them into the homes of these communities so that they could have things that wouldn't kill them when they were drinking stagnant stuff. So even before doctors, plumbers really saved the world.
Yeah.
And so he loves that, and he teaches that, and he teaches on that principle. And the guys are so excited to have him in class because they know it's going to be an engaging class time.
Wow.
In addition to that, last semester he had me come in and talk about what it looks like for me as an owner to hire somebody into my company and what I look for so that they know what it would take to get polished up, get ready, and be able to go and get a higher paying job and not just be stuck in new construction, which is like where people go to die.
Sure. Right.
The new construction world is like, you want to get out of that as fast as you can. And I have my own complaints about that in general, but it's often the graveyard where people go to die, where like you'll have to hit quotas to get bonuses or to work, and your boss tells you got to stay late, so you miss class time, and it's just not that big of a deal. So you got guys that are like been plumbing for 10 years that have their second year apprenticeship, and they should be master plumbers 10 times over, right?
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate part of the way it's all built. And so, you know, what he's trying to do is go in and just like help them see there's a better way to life, and we're on the same page about finding really talented people.
Yeah.
And helping people who even have a hint of talent learn what it takes to be really good at this and where the money's at, so that they can take care of their families and they can just be better people in general.
Right.
And like, you know, I'm an open person, and, you know, all of my life revolves around a person holistically being transformed. And there's so much addiction and trauma and pain and alcoholism and absentee fathers in the trades, just like anywhere else.
Right.
And it's often overlooked.
Right.
And so for me, a lot of it too is I'm using this as like a tool to help people through a lot of that as well. You know?
Yeah. I'm hearing the challenges, the challenge and the opportunity sound, you can almost say, are the same. The challenge is that the narrative is so strong. They're two sides of the same coin, I guess I would say. The narrative is so strong in one direction, to say that, you know, you're a less than, you're going to be stuck here, you're not charging enough, you know, or whatever. You don't have the business acumen. But then the opportunity is completely reframing that, and that's what your master plumber is doing. And you're part of that as well. Is let's reframe that. The opportunity, I guess, that's the opportunity of, you know, the next 5 to 10 years. I think is whoever can reframe it most effectively and maybe in the quickest timeline has an edge. Is that what I'm hearing? I mean, is that accurate?
That's accurate. The other thing too is you're asking the question of like, what do the homeowners want now that they didn't want then?
Sure. Okay.
And the first thing that comes to most people's mind is, I just want to work with somebody I like and trust. You know, it used to be just whoever's available can get there now.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. But we have all won that game. Like, you're going to put on your shoe covers.
Yep.
You're going to knock on the door. You're going to present in a certain way. You're going to give options. Everybody's now moving towards that way. And so now the unique selling proposition is much less about, like, you know, the sales process and then the thorough inspection of the home. We do those.
Right.
You know, we also forward think about technology and how that's changing plumbing. But we just ask that fundamental question: will they like and trust us when we enter their home? Will they hold their kids real tight if you walk in and look like an imposing, threatening figure?
Yeah.
Or do they feel like hey, there's Aaron again.
Yeah.
Hey, go play.
Yeah.
Let the kid run. And
Wow.
then you know that you've won a customer when they feel like
Wow. Yeah.
they can get in there and know that what you're going to do at the end of the day
Yep.
is going to be the right thing every time, and you're not going to steal stuff from their house. You're not going to be on drugs when you show up.
Yep.
You're going to be clean cut, and you're going to get the same experience every time, and they trust that.
Wow. Wow. Okay. You mentioned forward thinking. Touch on your hot take on AI and maybe the intersection between AI and plumbing in the next 10 years. Do you see it as a threat, opportunity?
Opportunity.
Okay.
I was listening to another podcast, and the question was asked of this gentleman they call the godfather of AI.
Okay.
I said, go with me here. Your grandparents, right? They wanted you to get into something, right? What was it that would they ever thought it was AI? No. He said, okay, go with me here. What trade or skill would you want your grandchildren to get into?
Wow. Yeah.
With knowing where AI is going because you helped create this thing.
Sure.
And he paused for a minute and he just goes, yeah, they need to get into plumbing. He said, anything that you're tactile and using your hands,
Yes.
he's like, that's got the longest runway.
Yeah.
He said, plumbers. And I was like, yes. I made it. I was like, good decision.
go.
And
Shout out.
yeah, dude, I was like really happy about that. And ultimately, it's going to help and not be a hindrance.
Sure.
And it's here and it's not going anywhere. So how do you embrace it? That's the big question.
Okay.
And right now, where it's really helping in the trades, really helping is allowing, if you are okay and attenuated to this and like are open-minded, the biggest, this is so funny, like literally when my business partner and I put this together, he said, Ben, there are 3 things that you have to do. He says, you gotta answer the phone when it rings. You gotta show up when you say you're gonna show up, and you gotta do what you say you're gonna do. And right now, number 1 is literally one of the main reasons people call. So I called my other plumber, he just isn't available. Or,
Yes.
hey, this guy's voicemail is full. Dude, every time. Inbox is full. And they never call back.
Yep.
And that's just not okay. AI, they have AI call centers, they have AI outbound messaging that's instantaneous. Literally within 1 second, you'll get a response.
That's right.
And it's like, hey, I'm sorry, he's not available right now, but I can help you book this thing right now on the phone. Would you like me to book it? And now you're getting into a lot of that where that answering a phone call is a thing of the past.
Yeah.
You now have AI to do that.
Wow.
You now have AI that can help you with your outbound marketing, which is also, could be 10 to 20% of your revenue if you're not careful, you let it slip. So you have existing customers, you want to remain sticky, so you have drip campaigns that are set up by AI. You've got AI text messaging. One of the big things you want to do is make sure that your volume or velocity of reviews is high. We got a company that they just put in AI for us, and then after every job is done, they get a trickle, like a little drip campaign. It just kind of trickles out there for 7 days. It's like, hey, don't forget to give us a great review. Hey, don't forget to do it. And we get, at least, I think the minimum Google recommends is like 2 reviews a week, just
Okay.
a velocity.
Yeah.
And we're getting like triple that every week,
Okay.
or quadruple that.
Yeah.
So it helps you, not hurts you. You have to embrace it. Where, if you're an operator and you're a technician in the field, and you're still small, it's like, what things can you offload that you have to offload so that you can work on the business, not in the business. And if you just do that as a thought experiment, there's some kind of AI tool out there for you that's going to do that work.
Yeah.
There is.
Right.
And it's as simple as like maybe it's inputting and reconciling your statements in QuickBooks. There's AI for that. It's like it's crazy.
Yep.
You don't like digital marketing, aren't good at it? There's AI for that. You have a really hard time answering the phone when it rings because you're always on a job, running a job in the field. Well, there's AI for that.
Right.
And so you have basically all the tools at your disposal you might ever need to utilize AI and have it actually complement your work that you're doing. And oftentimes there's pushback of people like, well, what if they don't like talking to AI? It's like, most people we're finding out that's just not the case. Simply not true.
Yeah.
It's not a truism.
Right.
And there's data that supports it. People don't mind talking to them as long as they can book that call pretty quick.
Right.
And AI is just getting better. It's not getting worse.
Right.
So
It's here to stay. I mean, get used to it at this point in some ways. You know.
right.
Okay. Well, let's wrap up with one more question for this episode related to, let's say you have one of the students in your Master Plumbers class in front of you. Say there's someone listening who is considering the trades. One, maybe a young guy or gal considering the trades, and then also considering what does the business acumen side of things look like. What does the future look like for that? Maybe one, start with what's the path to becoming a plumber that typically people take, and then two, like what would be your recommendations? What is the top of your recommendations of like, well, here's what I would do first. Here's where I would go second. Here's where I would go to school, or this is what you need to be looking for. What comes to mind there?
Well, in the state of Arkansas, and every state is different. So
Right.
if you're listening in Chicago, this may be a different story than
Sure.
if you were here, right?
Yep.
In Arkansas, in order to operate independently from anybody, you have to have gone to school for 4 years.
Okay.
And so that requires, all of your school hours from your first year through your fourth year of apprenticeship. You have to have on-the-job training hours that are signed off on, and you have to have a minimum of 6,000 to 8,000. I can't remember now what it is. But that's a big moat. And to get into that, like, you can't operate technically legally outside of those confines.
Sure.
And then once you get your journeyman license, you don't have to have your master's. You can be a journeyman plumber and do everything that a master can do except for pulling permits, and that's where you get hobbled, right? So the other moat is now you really need to pursue a little further to get your master's license so that you can either own your own business or you can pull permits.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to go to school. That's number one. Number two, don't go work at a place where I would say don't go work at a place where they don't care about school. You got to care about school. And if your employer, if your employer doesn't care about your schooling, go somewhere else. They just want it's body count at that point, right? It's like how many, and they know the attrition rate is probably pretty high.
Yep.
But go somewhere where they really care about school.
Yeah.
And they'll help you do that. Number three is any community college is going to be fine. My desire in the next 10 years is to see policy changes in how and who gets vetted to teach, and then actually have a legitimate built-in curriculum for the state to show and showcase and then do all these other things that they're currently not doing.
Okay.
I think it'd be neat if there was like an actual hands-on part. There's not. It's all books.
Interesting.
They assume or help. They want you to think that like the time in the out in the field is going to be your hands-on time.
Okay.
But yeah, adding business classes to that would be helpful. A lot of guys are very good at plumbing, very good plumbers, not great businessmen.
Right.
It's not their fault.
Right.
They just aren't built that way,
Right.
or they haven't learned.
Right.
And as a technical expert, it's really hard to get out of the weeds.
Yes.
And so they want to continue to be in the business all the time. But if you can get them to start reframing that and looking at owning and operating something and then learning all of the soft skills inside of that program, there's a great chance that they would be way more successful.
Yeah.
So I believe that, broadly speaking, there needs to be a transformation of just from policy level and a curriculum level, how that's been implemented. There are other states that have 2-year service licensure. We don't have that here. You all have to go through 4 years, but state of Texas lets you go to school for 2 years and you can become a residential like service technician.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's also a neat opportunity or option as well, because some guys go straight to service work, which is very, very different than new construction. It's very, very different than commercial work. It's very, very different than industrial plumbing. And so something like that could be really cool to see happen as well.
That would give you more of the face-to-face with the client quicker, maybe, and start to develop some of the soft skills quicker.
That's right.
Okay.
And two, you're really working on just a handful of systems at that point.
Gotcha.
Within 2 years of a lot of on-the-job training, you can get pretty dangerous with the amount of you're learning so many different and new things every day.
Okay, what percentage of the time in the 4-year program in Arkansas, for instance, is book versus in the field, like class time versus in the field?
You got to be employed and working your normal hours,
Okay, gotcha.
and you only do.
So you do class at night essentially
Do
for
night
those
class.
4 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And you work a full 40 hours or whatever you require.
Correct.
That's wild.
Yes.
But you do get paid, I guess, which is back to our. I'm assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it still would put you ahead financially because you'd be making money not only to live, but then probably to pay those school bills.
That's right.
You'd be starting at 18 or 19 instead of when you're 22 or 23 graduating, right?
Yep.
Is that all accurate?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's wild. Okay. That's compelling, and especially with marketing conditions right now, I'm sure that's going to be of interest to many right now. So I think we'll call it there for this episode in terms of the plumbing industry and the franchise. Appreciate all your thoughts on that. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
And again.